Right, so as we headlines, top story at this hour, the Free State High Court in Bloemfontein has dismissed Dr Nandipha Magudumana's urgent application with costs. Magudumana wanted the court to declare her arrest in Tanzania illegal. She is amongst the 7 people arrested for aiding and abetting murder and rape convict Thabo Bester to escape from prison. Judge Kabelo Seabi stated that Magudumana was clearly aware of the charges she would face during the handover process between the Tanzania government and South Africa upon her arrival in the country. She's also noted that Magudumana did not resist during the handing over process, as she stated that she wanted to return to South Africa to be with her children. Bester contended that Magudumana willingly participated in the handing over process and that if she has any issues regarding that, she would have to take it up with the Tanzanian government. The National Prosecuting Authority has welcomed the Free State High Court's judgment.
We welcome the judgment of the High Court that is in favor of the state. What we're hoping is that from now we'll be given enough space so that we can do what is expected of us as prosecutors and investigators to ensure that justice prevails.
There could be a possibility, at this particular stage we understand Dr Nandipha Magudumana's lawyers will be consulting with her. They're not ruling out the possibility of an appeal in Shuping. One of the key aspects of Dr Nandipha Magudumana's argument was that what happened in Tanzania was not a deportation but an extradition, and this court has now agreed with that. Your response to that?
Well, we're not going to concern ourselves of anything that's a possibility until such time that there is an appeal. It's only then that we'll respond, because once they appeal, they will bring papers that as prosecutors we will have to respond to. But I think the judgment speaks for itself in that at the end the High Court dismissed the application of the applicant.
Right, so for more on this, we're going to be joined via Zoom by practicing attorney Kabelo Seabi. Kabelo, good afternoon. Thanks for your time with us here on the SABC.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners, to your viewers.
Let's get your reaction to the urgent application now having been dismissed and the ordering of Dr Nandipha Magudumana to pay costs.
You must remember that this application is brought through a process which we call, or an application is brought through a motion proceeding. When we talk about motion proceedings, we talk about you approach the court and you place your evidence in affidavits. Now, the case that had been brought by Dr. Nandipha Magudumana was that she had been abducted and transported to South Africa against her will, literally saying that she had been kidnapped. Now, the court had to deal with the case as outlined in those affidavits or in those papers. The respondents, being the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Police, as well as the Director of Public Prosecutions, placed before the court in their affidavits that she had consented to being deported from Tanzania to South Africa. And the court, on evaluating the evidence that is in these affidavits, came to the conclusion that based on the content of those affidavits, Dr. Magudumana had agreed to come back to South Africa of her own choice. So based on the fact of the facts that were before the court could only decide the case as in the papers. You will remember that during the hearing itself, the counsel for Dr. Magudumana had brought a new string to the bow by saying that this was an extradition which had been, or it was an extradition that had been masked as a deportation. But that case was not pleaded in the papers.
Kabelo, on the back of what you've just echoed now, perhaps we can also explore what else transpired. What mistakes were made by the state that perhaps almost cost or lost the case when we're looking at the issue of extradition versus deportation? what lessons can also be learnt at this point?
Look, the state must have learned that taking the short route is not the best course of action, especially with legal matters. I personally would expect that an appeal will follow in this matter, because the issue that there was a level of cooperation between the Tanzanian authorities and the South African authorities, that matter renders it to be suspect that indeed this was an extradition that had been masked as a deportation. You must remember, a deportation is it's a unilateral act of the state to say that they do not want a prohibited immigrant in their country, and therefore they want that immigrant to leave their country. They do not engage with a country and allow that country to bring its officials in a plane to inside a state and to take a person out of that country. And in this instance, I think the most probable course that would follow is that there will be an appeal in this matter.
All right. Perhaps we could also explore the way forward and what impact, if at any, this is going to have on her bail application if she does decide to apply. How would you weigh in on that?
I do not believe that she is going to make a bail application. The chances of getting bail, if you were a fugitive from justice and you had shown yourself to be a flight risk, are very narrow. I suspect that once she has consulted with a legal team, they will pursue an appeal of this agent application's outcome.
Kabelo, thank you for your time with us here on the SABC and weighing in on the back of what transpired, the outcome of that case. Dr Nandipha Magudumana's application in the High Court in Bloemfontein having been dismissed with costs. Again, judge found that she consented to her removal by the SA Home Affairs from Tanzania to be with her children. So again, we'll obviously continue to monitor and see what develops from the story from here on too. But we'll leave that conversation there with Kabelo for now.